Welcome to another episode of Big Country Living. This here is another continual episode of the hunting and cleaning video where I killed a doe and a buck, but I showed you how to hang the doe, cut the doe, skin the doe, debone the doe out in the field. This is a continuation 12 to 13 days later of aging in a cooler. Where I'm going to show you guys how tender that meat is. There's no waste of dry aging where you have to cut that top dry area off, but it's still tender. So you have none of that waste. It has the taste of the wild is almost dissipated because you have that water constantly flowing over it. That ice is melting with salt and ice, and it's constantly melting, and that blood is draining away. So you get rid of a lot of the wild taste for people who can't take it. So when you make your sausages, you make your jerky, it's going to have a better, more pleasant, milder flavor. So I'm just going to show you guys quickly how I continue to process it, show you a few cuts that you can do, and you take from it what you can. Thanks for watching. You're going to see me moving this camera a lot. Okay, this is the back strap, and I think I'm going to use this knife. I have a few different choices. This is my flexible knife. It's a boning knife too. This is more of a boning knife simply because they're about the same size. This doesn't have as much flexibility, almost none. So when you get around that bone, you can cut, So I like them both, but my favorite is gonna be this knife here. You're gonna have reticular skin here, or skin that's like rubber band. It's hard, it's tendons and stuff like that. You don't need it. Instead of trying to peel all this off, some people come here and try to peel all this off. You can do that. It's a waste of time to me. It's just a waste of steps, I don't really do that. Let me get this stuff off my hands. But if you look at this here, you got three parts. You got a little head here that goes up to the butt area, the ham area, and that's what this is. It's a little piece here. You also have a piece on that back strap that goes here, and then you have the back strap that goes into a little point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this back strap over, and I'm going to think of a fish, and I'm trying to get the angles right for you guys. Since this piece here, I like to square off anyway. So I would square it off to make it look pretty. But before I do that, I'm gonna go down to that reticular skin, and I'm gonna lay my knife flat. I think you guys can see that. Let me turn it this way to see if you guys have a better angle. Yeah. I lay it down, and I'm gonna come down to the bottom, and I'm just gonna push and look at my knife. You see, this is my knife. I'm just pulling my knife through. You can saw motion, but really pulling that knife through is what you want. I'm trying to see you guys. Yeah. And then I'm pushing that top down. So look, guys. You see how pretty that is? That meat is coming off. See how pretty that is? And this is the skin here. They used to wrap their bows and arrows. The Indians used to wrap it in there and let it dry. And when it dry, it tightens down. And that arrow wasn't going anywhere. Now I still have this part. Now if you wanna go there and clean some of this off, you can. If your knife is sharp enough, you can go in there and get it. This part here, that's still meat I'm gonna use. This is trash. Start my little piles here of what I need it for. As you're cutting, you're gonna go through, you're gonna have some pieces of meat that you're going to use for different things. Now, I can leave this whole. I'm gonna go here. For me, I'm just gonna go here so I can show you guys. I'm just gonna go in and clean any little piece, these little pieces off. You don't actually have to throw that away. That can go in the hamburger meat. I personally, because of that reticular tissue, I'm not gonna mess with it. You know, you got a lot of deer, and that's small comparative to, you know, what you have. Okay, that's pretty much cleaned up. Like I told you again, so you guys can see. If you look here, because I don't think they show you in detail a lot of the time, but if you look here, you'll see that skin running through here at an angle, and if you turn it around, you'll see it coming up right here. You'll see that skin right here. That is another piece, because it actually has 3 pieces to this muscle. I always go here and I just cut straight down and it comes straight off. That you can work with when you need to, you know. If you have a sharp enough knife, you take that off. You see how pretty that is? It's smooth. Then you come here. Watch your angles of your knife, especially when you have a sharp knife. And that. If you want to, again, you can come here and that skin is pretty hard. You know, it's pretty tough. You can scrape it off, put the rest over here. This here you can cut up in chunks, make hamburger meat out of it, sausages, that can go into all of that. You look real careful, you may have a little bit here. Now, while I'm doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and do what we call squaring it off. It's a pretty piece of meat, but I want my cuts to be pretty. So I'll come here where it's fat and I square it off. This pretty piece of meat here, oh, look at those chunks. This is gonna go over here because it has less fat on it. This has a little fat in it and everything, so I'm gonna make hamburger meat out of that. I'm just trimming it up on things I see. I'm gonna come around here and it's again, I'm gonna come here and square this up. And you got some pretty little squares. Here, I'm just gonna cut a little chunk, and it's got that reticular tissue, a little bit of it in there. You can take it off if you wanted to, and then put it over here in your pile. I like to call this my burn pile. In the country, we have burn piles where we're working and we got a lot of wood that we can't use. We have a burn pile where we're gonna burn it up. Now you see how pretty this is? It's pretty and it's cleaned up and it's ready to cut. You got a few little areas over here on the back that you can come here and smooth out, you know. But you're gonna have these little chunks in there and everything, you know. You can go ahead if you want to and clean it off. Some people do, some people don't. It's just kind of what mood I'm in, you know. It just kind of, ooh, I want to put this over here. That's pure meat, you know, and that's some great meat. Okay. Now, from here, I'm gonna do 3 cuts. I'm gonna come here, I can see where this is coming in and it's skinny and it's getting thick. So right here is where it starts getting thick, so I'm gonna cut it. I can make that a roast if I want to. These are almost even here. And if I got a small family or if I have a large family, that's gonna be a roast here. If I have a smaller family, that's gonna be a roast. So now I got 3 roasts. If I want to make this all roast, I have 3 roasts I have, almost equal size. You see that? I don't do roast out of them. They're too good. It's been aging. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go here and cut halfway through. Then I'm gonna even out and cut this way. So now I got my little steaks. I'm gonna do that again. You see that? I got my steaks. And now you normally cut about 4 steaks. When I package them, I normally have 4 steaks. So keep that in mind as you're cutting, what you're gonna do with it and how you're gonna do it. This one I could actually should have went more even on it, but hey, that's 4 steaks. That's a little thicker steak. Let's see if you can see them. That's a little, these are thicker steaks, so you know, that's gonna be mine. I did all the hard work. Also, let's say you wanna make chicken fried steak out of these things, right? And I do that too. My knife is already a certain angle. It's certain, if I lay my knife flat, I can put my hand under it. You see this? My hand can fit under it. So if you have a real sharp knife and you got some good meat, you hold that meat down, because you're not gonna cut yourself. You bring that knife and you make sure you put a lot of pressure on this side. And you're gonna come and you're just gonna cut straight through one, and you're pushing down, you're gonna have it even. And then you remember it was a little bumpy on this side, so you don't really have to worry about that. But this is what you have. And I want to get a prettier cut than that to show you exactly what I'm gonna do with this. You see these pretty cuts like this? You see these pretty cuts? I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna cut that in half. And I'm gonna come and cut this in half. Then I have this half. Then I'm gonna go and I'm gonna beat this down and flatten it out, season it, put some flour and seasoning my flour and everything, because you wanna season your flour. Season your flour, beat this down to a wider angle, and then fry it and make you some gravy, and you got fried steak, chicken fried steak or chicken deer fried steak, or however you want to say it. So that's what I'm going to do with these. So, you know, it's going to be nice. So that you can have that there. This area here, I can wrap that in bacon. I can go ahead and, if I wanted to, cut that little piece off right there. I'm always finding a reason to cut off and make my pile over there a little bit bigger. Look at that. That was part of a fragment of the deer. I shot her right under the spine area so my bullet can pass through and not mess up any of my meat, but it mobilizes her, she falls straight down. So I'm not chasing out the deer. But you see how pretty and smooth this is? You can go ahead and wrap that in bacon and cook that real good, or put it with onions, or do what you want to do with that. Or you can go in and make little medallion steaks out of them, like this, you know, and cook them. And put some onions in a pan, cut your onions up, and go on in there and put them in there and grill them on top of the stove, wrap them in bacon, put them on the pit. There's a lot you can do. You can beat these out too, and make smaller steaks with them. But I like them like this, along with some onions and seasonings in a pan, and grill my onions and put these on top, and mix that in there and get the seasoning and put it on there, and it has that great flavor with some garlic and onion and seasonings. You can't go any better, get any better than that. So we're gonna move that to the side. Let's go ahead and move these over here. Another thing, when you're wrapping your steak, you don't ever want to put that meat on top of each other, because it will turn it brown. You want to put something between it, or lay them all flat down. Can y'all see? This is that big ham. I'm gonna go ahead and take some of this stuff off. For you guys, I'm gonna slow myself down so you guys can see what I see. I know I can see in the camera, you can see this line here. Because I believe in teaching. You can see this line here, but you're gonna be able to see that line a little bit better. If you come here, you can lift this stuff up. If you take your knife and put it towards, I always put it towards me so I can go in and stick my knife inside. And I just cut towards, away from me, but cut towards the ground. You see, I'm using my tip, believe it or not. I'm using my tip on here. It's on this side here, I'm trying to let you guys see it. It's a lot of fat here. She was healthy. She was healthy. And believe it or not, this was a doe. She was a young doe, but they're healthy. And I'm just cutting this off because this is stuff I'm not going to use. I'm not going to waste my time trying to get it, right. I'm going here. And I can do this after I cut, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do it now. Clean that up, that's just fat. This part here, that can go into the hamburger meat. It's hard fat and soft fat at the same time. So I'll just use my knife and go in and cut, clean off that top area here. Now, if you take your finger, let's see if y'all can see. I take my finger on this line, I can go in here and pull. And when I pull, I can see that muscle separating. My finger, look, I can get my hand down here and I can get my hand, look at that. It'll come out this side. People, you're not trying to reinvent anything. God has already made your cuts on there. You just gotta follow the lines. That's it, just follow the lines. So I'm just taking my hand, this is for beginners. Because once you start dealing with this animal and everything, you will learn real quick what's what. Now, my hand is here. I can pick this up here. Since I can pick it up and it's going to go all the way to here on this area, this is going to peel off. You see that? I could actually come in here and peel all this off if I wanted to. But I got knives for that. You see that? So I'm going to go here with my knife. I'm going to go in up with my knife at an angle up. And I'm gonna let my knife head fall through where it's gonna go. And I'm just gonna cut this out. You see that? Right there. And you're gonna reach in here and it's a bone right here. Once you get down there, it's gonna be a bone. These are all muscle groups. If you go right here to the femur bone, this is the ball and socket. That's where everything meets. You can go ahead and cut this piece of meat off that's hanging. You can cut that off and you can work with that later. But here, this layer here, and this right here is what they call a football roast. Let's see, am I looking at it right? I think I am, yeah. Look, I'm gonna go all the way down here and cut. Just using the tip of my knife and I'm hitting the bone here. I know I got my bone here and I know this is, this muscle stops here on this bone. I can do one or two things. I can from here follow my bone out, or which is a little harder if you're a beginner. It's a little harder. So what I'm going to do is just come over here and do the same thing I did on that side and cut some of this tissue off. I'm gonna cut it off so I can see where I'm going, so you can see where you're going. Okay, I got another muscle here. I see that. I can just come here and pull it off. So I'm going to cut it off and put that to the side. I got another line in here where I can see it. You know, it's another line. So I'm going to use my knife and cut that up so I can go through it. I'm following that line. You see that line? I'm just following it. So look. When I follow it, again, it's gonna go down. If I go, I'm cutting on the bone, right there on the bone. Now, for the beginners, now I got this cut and I got this cut. I'm gonna hold that up at an angle like this. I'm gonna go here and feel a tendon and a bone. I'm just gonna cut with my knife. I'm just gonna cut straight down. That's all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna cut straight down. Now, when I cut down, I'm at a bone. Now, when I'm at that bone, I'm just gonna take my knife and cut into that bone. I'm gonna stay on that bone. That's all I'm doing. I'm just staying on that bone, and I'm coming all the way down. When I come all the way down, I can peel this off. Get over here to the front where the tendons is holding it, turn it around and cut that. That right there is my football roast. You see that? And I'm gonna set it to the side so I can trim it later. Now, you see that bone that I followed? I followed that bone all the way down. Now, since I have that bone, and look, I'm just using this much of my tip. I'm gonna follow that bone. I'm just gonna go put it on there, and I'm just gonna cut that bone and move this out the way. Just going there a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. I'm just standing on that bone. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. I'm just cutting that bone. That's all I'm doing, guys, is cutting that bone. I'm starting from one side of the bone, working my way down. Now, I got both sides peeled back. Now I can't see under here, so I'm gonna take my knife, go under the bone, see that? And I'm gonna cut up towards the bone. I'm just cutting up towards the bone. That's all I'm doing, guys. I'm using that bone as my guide. You see that? I'm using that bone as a guide. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. I'm gonna cut away from me, using that bone as my guide. That's all I'm doing. Because when I finish, if I'm cutting that bone and letting that knife ride that bone, all my meat most of my meat is gonna be on there. I've already, now I can use it as a suitcase handle and I can grab it. That's how I knew I'm all the way through. Now that I'm through like that, remember this ball and socket has all the tendons to it. So I'm gonna just come here, lay it down. I'm gonna lay it down here, and I'm just gonna come up here and I'm gonna ride the bone from here down. That's all I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna, you see that? I'm gonna turn it back around like this. Well, for you guys to see it. I'm gonna come here. I'm just gonna ride that tip of that bone all the way down. I'm just cutting just from that top of that ball and socket down. And you see that? It'll fall away. And I'm gonna come all the way down. I'm gonna do the same, just gonna cut it off of that bone, all the way down. Look at that. It's gonna peel away. It's just gonna peel away. You can just hold it here and let gravity have her way. You see that? I'm just still cutting it at the bone, and I'm cutting it around. It's got skin, and that's what I have left. Now I have this big old muscle here, and I know sometimes it can be intimidating. This muscle can be intimidating, but it's not. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this off, because it's a piece of muscle just hanging out. I'm gonna set that to the side so I can trim it later. If you open this muscle up, when you open it, if you set it on this back and you just pull it, look at that. It's gonna lay flat. It's gonna lay flat. Now I'm gonna come here and trim all this unwanted skin. See that? I'm just gonna trim it. Turn it around so you can work with it. And another thing that I teach people all the time, when you know your knife is super sharp, and as you're cutting, it stops feeling like it's sharp. You're cutting through a lot of fat. So that fat is gonna freeze up when it's cold. You see that? I just pulled all that off of my knife. That's fat. You wanna clean that knife off and just go over here with this and just give yourself a little 1, 2, 3, 4 over. And come back over here and start again. When you open this up, guys, look at that. You're just gonna go through here I'm just gonna go cut straight down. This muscle, I'm just cutting straight down. When I cut straight down, all I have left is this muscle over here. I'm gonna go on and trim that up real good. That's one whole piece of meat right there. That's a roast. You can do a lot of stuff with that, jerky, roast, whatever. This area that I cut straight through, I'm gonna come here and look. I'm using my finger. I'm just using my finger to peel this meat away. Wherever it peels is where I want to cut. And I don't really have to do a lot of cutting. You see that I peeled all that away? Now that you go into a little skin right here, look at that. That's another piece. Same thing with this area here. I'm just pulling it. You see I just pulled this off? That's another roast. Now you're left with this area here, which is real good for a lot of different things. You can make other steaks out of this. You can make jerky out of this. You can make this whole thing a roast. Yeah. So this is, to me, this is the. You can also cut it real thin, like I did, like so. Like I was gonna make these chicken fried steaks. You can do it like this. Cook it on high heat, and then cut against the grain and make fajitas out of it. Oh my God, that's good. I'm gonna go here and trim it up. I'm sorry guys, I'm forget I'm on video. That was here. That was all that fat here. I just trimmed it up. And it's got a little meat on there, but you see how it's got all that fat over here? You can fight with that if you want to. I right now don't want to because I got too many deer to do this, to clean. But I'm just gonna go on top and clean this out, you know. This is soft fat right here, so you can just stick your knife through it and cut. So I'm cutting and using that angle, and I'm going ahead and even it up. Now that you got all of your roast, you can figure out what you want to do with it. I always say before I start cutting, I have a plan on what I want to do and how I want to do what I want to make. And that helps me out a lot. That way I don't get here and think, what am I going to do? And why am I going to do this, you know? Again, you got that skin over here that what they call it, reticular skin. You cut in here a little deep to get that all out at one time. But since it's so strong and that meat is so good, I'll just hold it like I'm fishing. And like I'm filleting the fish, and I'll just go in here. If you can grab it, because sometimes your hand get a little wet and everything, so I grab and pull it off. And sometimes you have to do it twice. If you want to mess with that meat, you're gonna pull that off. These gloves, I'm doing it for YouTube, because people scream and holler, "Oh my God, you touching meat!" But I don't want that over here. I want that over there. Okay. Squaring it off. Now look, you can come here and square more of it off if you want to. It's up to you how you want to do it. I'm used to cutting and training people at the Sprout store. You see my little sprouts, old throwback here sprout. Done a lot of training, opening up stores and training, going different stores and training people how to cut. So it's always, they like their stuff pretty. So that's a habit of mine, you know. So I'm gonna go ahead and on this one here, I'm gonna cut it in half. And you see how pretty that meat is? And if you look, it's got grains in there that's going long ways. So whenever I'm cutting, if I'm cutting steaks, since it's going long ways, let me go ahead and square this off because I'm working with it. Pretty it up for you guys. Okay, now it's going long ways here. And so you don't want to cut this like that because it'll make it tougher. But you see how when I cut it with the grain, against the grain, how smooth it is? That's what you want to do. If you're making jerky, grab this and go straight down, and look how pretty that is. If you're making steak out of here, do the same thing, you know? Now, for me, I'm going to cut it long ways because I'm going to make fajita meat out of it. See? It is going to cook it's going to cook long ways. I'm going to cook it long ways like this. But when I cut it, when I want to eat it, I'm going to cut it smaller against the grain here. I'm going to cut it against the grain. So that's what I'm going to do with that. But I'm going to make bigger fajitas. Let me go ahead and trim a little of this back off. Okay, I'm pushing down. My knife is coming through. And if your knife is too small, go with a bigger knife. Or get you a bigger knife and go through. But what I do is just turn it around, flip it, and go around because it's still the same height. You see that? Don't that look like fajita meat? See how smooth it is? So when I cook it and everything, I cook it and I'm gonna cut it against the grain because I'm gonna have that pretty fajita meat. That's gonna go on the grill. Whew, that's gonna make me happy. See that? Since I'm holding that knife down here, that blade and my hand on the top, look at this, my hand on the top, it's not gonna cut me at all. You know, it's just gonna cut right through, right through. See that? Great fajita meat. Or I could take it and I could wrap it and everything, but that's what I'm gonna make. These are my fajitas. See that? This right here is small. You can make fajitas out of it. Or you know what? You know I like to see my pals grow. This right here, that's going in my sausage. Here I could beat that out. That'll also make a good chicken fried steak. If I cut this like this at an angle and like that and beat it out, it'll make a great chicken fried steak. This is some of it that I cut. And it's gonna go to my sausage side. Now this here, this is like a filet mignon. And this is pretty much pure meat. You can make a roast out of there. You can go in here and clean this out. Turn to the side. Get all that stuff out. Come here, you see that? Go ahead and square that off. You know, you got all that you got to get. Put it towards you. Stick that knife in there since it's short, and just go straight down. You know, that's what you're gonna get. A lot of this will scrape off like that, you know. But when you cut so much meat, at the butcher shop, you're not trying to sit there and play with that. You're just gonna trim it off, you know. But when it's a wild deer, and you don't know how long this meat is gonna last, you're gonna try to keep as much as you can. So that right there is yeah, it can be a roast. I'm gonna square it off and make it look pretty. I'm gonna go here, square that off. You see that? That's a pretty roast. I feel tendons in there. I don't want that. That's what you can do. Or you can, again, make steaks out of it. You can cut round steaks out of it like you want to. Like, you know, if you want to, you can go down and cut a round steak off of it. You know, but I've already got a lot of steaks on the other side that I cut. Sorry about that, guys. My neighbor called. That's the second time he called me doing a video. He didn't know I was videoing, and he just got him a deer too. He got him 2. So let me go ahead and put some gloves on for you guys. I was talking on the phone, so I took my gloves off. And I guess while I'm putting on gloves, let me let y'all see that. Let's see if it'll. It didn't clear up. Well, you'll see I'm starting to stack up over here. This is one leg, so. Though like sometimes I love to sing, guys. I know I can't sing, but I love to sing. Okay, got my gloves here. You're gonna run into a lot of this meat with big tendons like this. You can do quick work of these tendons. It's not to cut right through. You can do that, you know. You cut some of that skin loose when you're new to it. You cut it through so you can see where you're gonna cut. If I bring this thing out, I'm just trying to find, when you see me doing this, I'm looking for an angle I can do to show you guys and be safe for myself. It's a lot of tendons in here. A lot of the time, this is gonna be straight sausage, because you don't wanna be cutting through all this tendon. But if you want to try to cut through it, you just take your knife, you're still look, following that tendon. Still look, peeling it off. You see that? I'm just coming down. I come through, I'm gonna pull this off. I'm gonna come around, and with the head of this knife, look at that. I'm just following that tendon. I'm following it. I'm gonna show you, it's a lot of work when you're trying to get meat off of these, but it can be done. Now, you see this? You got a tendon up here and you got a tendon down there. You can come here and cut through and peel and cut. You got that tendon off. You see how pretty that meat is? That's beautiful meat. But you got a tendon over here. You're gonna come to cut down the opposite side, and you're gonna do the same thing. You're just gonna pull. And you gotta get in there and grab it, because this meat gets a trick. If your knife's are dull, I'll use the back side of it, you know, so the front side is super sharp. You see that? I held it down, I pulled through, and look, you see how pretty that is? That's pure pretty meat, and it's tender. Ooh, see how tender? I just poked through it. That right there, I'm gonna take, since I did all the hard work to get this off, I'm gonna go ahead and make this out of let's see what I'm gonna do. Chicken fried steak. That's what this is. That's gonna be one of my chicken fried steaks. And same thing with this here. You're gonna go through, this side here has a big tendon on it. And if you can't grab it, you can grab your best friend right here. And I'm gonna see if I can hold it with this side, if it won't cut through. Yeah, that nice super sharp. You can use a fork. You can use a fork. See that? That fork is your friend. You don't have to go buy anything but a fork. See that? Look how pretty. See that skin that you're not gonna eat? Oop, use the fork to push that off. Yeah, and that's just pure meat. If you're gonna sit there and waste time, or not waste time, but if you wanna put time into it, a lot of people do. And I do too, you know, at times. That's why I know how to do it. I do too. But to be honest with you, when you got a lot of deer, you're not gonna waste deer, but there are certain things like this, you can do the same thing. But what I normally do is cut those hard tendons off, come through the top, cut that off, turn it around, cut through, and then I just cut it up, and it goes into my hamburger pile. That right there is one on and got most of those tendons out. It's got a few more inside, you know, that you can go in. But again, if I want to clean it up some more, I'll just go ahead and come through, pull that out. Sharp knives and understanding that deer. That's hamburger meat. Hamburger meat. When I grind this up so low, you see when you eat hamburger meat, you see that white will look like fat in there. All those is tendon. Some of it is fat, but most of it is tendon. This here, that comes off of that football roast. This here, that comes off of here. That's part of that roast. That's that here. If I'd have done a better job, it'd have still been on there. But you know, we're cutting at home, and even I make mistakes. That right there is so pretty. See how pretty that meat is? Oh. That's gonna make great sausage. This here for dog lovers, you can bend that bone if you put this knife down. If you bend that bone, I can feel that for beginners. You can feel that bone going in and out here. If I take my knife and I stick that point in there, in that knife, and I'm just gonna move it to the side. Look, I'm gonna cut down. You can hear it popping, you know? Then I'm sticking in there. It found its way through. Look at that. It found its way through. I'm gonna saw down, and see that? I've cut through. Then I'm gonna come to this side, put it back in there on this side, and I'm just gonna lean forward, and it's gonna find it. I'm gonna turn it around here, and I'm gonna saw my way through. And you know what? You could take this, and you could leave this on there, cause the dogs are gonna love it. But I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off to make it look pretty. You're gonna take that, and you're gonna take this bone here, you're gonna smoke it outside, season it. My neighbor is coming to pick this up for his dog. So I left a little bit on there, a little meat here on there. He's gonna smoke it, and that dog is gonna love it. It's gonna love it. Deer horns and stuff, you keep those, the dogs eat those up. So I'm gonna set this to the side for my neighbor. What a great neighbor I am. This here is a shank. I can go ahead and cut through this bone, cut on this bone, clean that shank, and I'll clean all this tissue off of it. Come here and make it look pretty. Cutting a little of that bone off at the top. I can take that shank and I can cook it with the bone on, with some vegetables and everything, and it's gonna, this thing is just gonna fall apart. And it's gonna be so great. Braise it and then put it in the oven Sometimes people use a little red wine with it because it is deer. Use a little red wine. I don't really like wine on my stuff. It cooks off and it can give it a good taste. But you know, it would be good. Braise it and cook it, and that's gonna be good. And you're gonna have 4 of these. So really you have 2 good ones, but I normally have 4 of mine that I use the way I cut my deer. This here is what you cut off on the ham. That's pure meat, pure meat. Go here and trim it up. And you know what pile that's gonna go into? If you're smart, you guessed it. Look how pretty that meat is. No fat in there. That's going into my sausages right there. Not my hamburger pile. This right here, with a little of that, I'll take some of that sticky piece off, but that'll go into my hamburger pile. You know. And with your hamburger pile, if you don't like pork, what you can do is get you some beef, fat, and mix it with that, and you know, go ahead and trim this on the sides. Get that area off here. Ugh. That piece right there, I'll put over there. I'll put some good pieces over there too. You know, mix them up. Mix them up. Gives it a better flavor. But if for my hamburger meat, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mix mine with beef. But we had a sale on what they call, you would call it probably chuck. It's on the chuck, ribeye, chuck eye. They would call it chuck eye, but it ain't nothing but a ribeye that lays on the, like let's say this is ribeye. This right here is a chuck. That ribeye muscle comes up and it lays here, and it's got a suture where you can cut it out and everything. But because it lays on the chuck, you can't sell it as a ribeye. You have to call it a chuck eye, but it's the same flavor and everything is sitting here, but it's much cheaper to buy because you cut it off on that chuck eye. So I went and they had a sale on it, and because I knew exactly what it was, I ended up buying a lot of it. I spent a lot of money on it. You know, it was cheap. Comparative, it was cheap comparative at HEB's. So I got a lot of chuck eye. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take that chuck eye, which is very flavorful. It's the medium flavor on the cow, with the sirloin being the highest flavor content on a cow. But I'm gonna take that and I'm going to mix it with my deer. And it's got the fat in it and everything. I'm gonna use a little bit of more fat on. I'm gonna use all the fat in there, not trim it. I'm gonna put it in there with my deer, and it's gonna give it a succulent taste. I'm gonna do half of it with the ribeye, and then I'm gonna do the other half. You can do it with sirloin, because sirloin is cheaper, but it's gonna give it a better flavor. But ribeye is in the middle of a sirloin. You got the top flavor being sirloin, but it's not as tender. The ribeye being the middle tenderness between a sirloin and a tenderloin, but it has the medium flavor to it, and the tenderloin being the less flavor out of the 3, but the most tender. So you can get that sirloin and mix it, but I'm gonna do half of mine with ribeye and the other half with bacon. So I'm gonna have 2 different flavors going there. So back to this roast here. A lot of people call it the football roast. I'm not going to give technical terms here. I mean, I will. You'll hear me throwing them out because we have to learn all that stuff. But it's not important that you know it. Things that stick is things that make sense. And football roast makes better sense to me. You know, so I'm just going to go here and trim this out. And I'm gonna go ahead and you got a lot of tendons and stuff here. I'm gonna go ahead and square this off. See that? And I'm gonna square it off here. Whew. That's gonna give some good flavor to it. I can feel like a tendon in here, a hard tendon. And I'm just gonna cut that out. I don't want to deal with it. See something I do? There you go. See that roast? How pretty that roast is right there. That's gonna make a great roast. And look, you don't have to make roast if you don't want to, but that's gonna make a great roast. Some potatoes and onions and carrots and whew, that's gonna make a great roast. So there you go. On each side, it's pretty. Now this here is going to be another tender cut. You could tell with the lines, it's going to have heavy lines in it going one directional. Now you could peel this off here, you see this? Let me show you a trick. Top cap. On a cow, this is what we would do. And you could do it like this too. Be careful with your hands. You'll see this stuff here. I don't personally like it, but it's just psychological for me. So I normally spend time cutting that off. Most people don't. They go, boy, you crazy, but hey, that's me. I don't like slime. I don't like nothing slimy. I can see my knife riding at the top. See that? And knife control will come with time. Just practice. It takes practice. See that? And a little bit over here. That's where the muscles meet. And when they tell you when the doctors tell you need to consume more fish oils, that's what it's talking about. That right there helps that muscle and everything move, and you won't get all that popping. Okay, that's good enough for me. But you see how pretty that muscle is? Look at that, those lines. Man, watch this. You know what? I'm gonna square it off again. I'm always squaring it off. That's gonna go over here. Ooh, no, get that to the hamburger meat section. Got a little sinew on it. Now look, guys. Look. I'm gonna come at an angle, and I'm cutting this at an angle. Oh my God. I can make fajita out of that. I think that, or that could be a whole roast. That could be a whole nother roast. Square it off and everything. Or you can go ahead and cut straight down. And you see how pretty that is? You can make that right there, you can make steak fingers out of it. If you just go here and cut it, those are pretty steak fingers. But let's say, hey, I don't want to do steak fingers. You know what else you can do? Cut it a little bit thinner, like this. Oh, look at that. And you know what you can make with that? You can dry that out, and you know that'll make some of the best jerky in the world. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and make this a jerky. Now, a lot of people tell you cut this in half and then cut it. Don't waste your time. If you're gonna make jerky or steak fingers out of it, cut it like so. And then when you finish cutting it, when you finish cutting all of it, what you're gonna do is just go and cut it in half. And now you got your jerky sticks. They're gonna be pretty much the same size. Just go here. Can you see that? Oh, I'm over off the board. Go here and just come straight down. And now I got jerky sticks. But I'm gonna do a little bit of both. I'm gonna, ooh, oh my God. I think I'm gonna, you know what? I got a lot of other stuff I can make jerky with. I'm gonna go here and cut this in half. Look at this. My hand is under this knife because I want it thicker. So my hand is under this knife, and it's my guide. And see that? It's gonna cut it just like I want it, just like this. You see that? Cut it just like that. I'm gonna come here and square it off because I like squaring stuff off. Remember, I like pretty things, you know. And so I'm gonna do a few cuts with these, few different cuts. I can go in again if I wanted to and cut it again and do some things with it. So that right there can be a roast. It'll be a small roast. This one here, I'm gonna trim it up. Fat on there. And another thing, in the butcher business, if I can get this close to chilling, it'll hold up better. It's already cold and it's cutting good. I got a sharp knife, it's cutting good. So, you know, that's gonna be good. This here, I was gonna beat it out. See, look at this. I'm just look, that's oh my God, hamburger meat. See how easy that breaks up? I know my cuts. And I know what I'm sectioning it off. I'm gonna go here. A lot of times they'll throw that in the hamburger side, but I get to pick and choose my quality of meat when I'm doing it at home. And I take the time out and do it. So that can go in the trash. And this here can go in the hamburger meat. So guys, that's the way you cut up a deer. Real quick. This little section here, this is the filet mignon. And this is the most tender part of a deer. Not necessarily the most flavorful part, but it is the most tender, so it's really the most sought after. You don't have to age these because they come out tender already, but because I've aged it, she's a lot more tender than she normally would have been, either too. You know, tell you what I'm gonna do. Here, I usually tell people when I'm teaching them how to cut, don't use a knife on tenderloins. Everything, mostly 90% of it, you just peel off like this. You see that? All that's gonna peel off and it's gonna be pretty. You see that? What you have left is this little loin, this little reticular tissue. You're gonna go in and just, I could have laid it down and did like I showed you guys, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna hold you guys long. You know, I'm just gonna cut it off. And this is what you got. And this whole thing here is what I cook. And it doesn't take long to cook it. It doesn't take long to cook it at all. You just want to go in there, cook it, and take it off. It's that tender. It doesn't take long to cook. Again, I didn't have to cut all that off. I could have just pulled it off like so. And this is what you got. This is what you're left with. You can square it off again, because that's who I am. I'm gonna square it off. But look how pretty that is and tender. That's what you got. That's that filet mignon. So let me show you guys what we have. I appreciate you guys taking time and asking different things and allowing me to come into your homes. Let's go ahead and see what we got. And remember, guys, this is just the ham, one ham. This is just one ham. So when you take stuff to the butcher and the front legs, the front shoulders are almost 100%. It's going to be 100% chili meat or hamburger meat. You know, it's not going to be any of these special cuts. You know, I can cut a few things out of it, steaks and everything, but this is what you got. Let's see if I can get it. Let's see. This is what you got. This is off just the front leg, the front shoulder. You see that? That's what you got. So can you imagine when I do all four, the back straps, the front shoulder, two front shoulders, the two back legs and everything, the ribs and everything, how much meat I would have? Yeah. So learn how to do your own meat. Learn how to cook and cut for yourself. If you do that, you don't have to depend on anyone. And your quality of meat, your quality of flavors, your quality of living for your food goes up. For my chickens, for my hunting deer, hogs, all of those things that you see me do and post, those are things that I've learned how to do from my grandfather. He learned from his grandfather or his father. So those are the things that I'm bringing to you. Thank you guys for, again, for coming to Big Country Living. Like always, love you guys. Post, don't forget to subscribe and let me know some of the other things you might want to learn. Thanks. God bless.